Hi, Jessica.
Hey
How are
girl,
you?
can I be real? It's like so it's bedtime.
I'm so glad I finally caught up with you because you know that you're crazy busy, always helping and taking care of everybody else. And so I'm just excited to have you on the show to talk about this topic today.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah, and that's why I'm calling on you.
Although you are equipped to talk about it too. So yeah.
I have reverted to the professional in this particular instance, but so today we're going to be talking about overcoming disappointments, and I am super excited to have licensed psychotherapist Jessica Bullock, the owner of Life Options Counseling Services, with us today to discuss how you handle and how you get over disappointments. Just from my own experience and having conversation with numerous women and just people in general, I know that disappointments can really set people back.
Hmm.
Whether it be putting up guards or just a fear of moving forward or just really like even heartbreak.
Yeah.
And so we always want to be able to just encourage and inspire and equip people with the tools
Hmm.
that they need in order to continue going forward in the midst of any type of disappointment. Because life happens and it's challenging. So I'm glad to have you talking with us today about that topic.
I'm excited. Listen, this is a topic that I talk to people about at least 5 to 8 times a week. You know,
Hmm.
so a lot of people are disappointed. We get disappointed by so many things in life, and sometimes it can knock you off your kilter for a little bit, and you like, whoa, like what happened? I'm not supposed to be in this place right now. So this is an exciting opportunity to for us to unveil the way to get through the disappointments and not glorify them anymore, so I'm excited about this.
So what are your suggestions when people encounter difficult circumstances and it just their natural reaction or their natural feeling is to be disappointed or let down.
Mhm.
Let's talk about by an individual, by a person.
Mm. So when you are disappointed by a person, I think oftentimes we get so quick to dismiss, depending on how you were brought up and how you were taught or how it was modeled for you to respond to disappointment from people. Like for example, I'll give my mother for example. My mother, bless her heart, but she's a church going woman, and she was Christian based, so she's very quick to forgive and very quick to love everybody and get over it. And
Hmm.
I always had a difficult time doing that. I was like, either she's a saint or I'm very, very uh discombobulated and I'm like dysfunctional. And as I grew up, I came to find out that it's okay for me to be disappointed, and it's okay for me not to dismiss my feelings quickly and just get over it. And I think that, the first thing we have to realize is that we are real people with real feelings. And when we dismiss our feelings, we don't give ourselves time to process them. So like the first thing I would tell people when they're dealing with, disappointment from other people is to take a sit back, fall back a little bit and ponder the situation. Think about it. Think about the why did it offend you so badly? Because a lot of times when we're disappointed or we feel let down by somebody, it's really just a reflection of someone causing friction against our value system, right? So,
Hmm.
for example, if so and so, spoke to me a certain way, and I was in front of a group of people, well, one of my values, my top 10 values, are respect. Respect is a top value. So now when I feel disrespected, I'm going to automatically feel some type of way. I'm going to be disappointed, hurt. I'm going to feel very strongly about this person going against my values. So I think that a lot of times our disappointment just requires some time to sit and think about, why did I feel so disappointed? You know, people walk around the house clapping like, I know she did it. I know she did it, you know, and just start going off. But like, why are you so upset? Right? So like, if we take some time to take a step back, every time we feel disconnected or disappointed or let down or upset, we need to take a moment. Like, I would just tell everybody, take a time out and really reflect on, why am I so upset? Why am I so disappointed with this person? Which one of my values did they cause friction against? You know, one of my belief systems. You know,
I often look at, like, what were my expectations?
Yes.
You know, were my expectations too high? You know, clearly we didn't have the same expectations. And so re-examining what my thought process is and what I was looking to receive and I didn't get.
You know what? And Tisha, can I say that? Because somebody asked me a real good question, right? They said to me, Jess, do you believe that we should have expectations for other people? Should we have expectations? Absolutely. Like, do you just go to work or network with people and just do things in life without expectation? How much more important is it for our relationships to have expectation from our relationships? There are many things I expect from my husband, you know? There are many things I expect from my friends. And so again, you know, you're absolutely right. Our expectations, but if you look at your expectations, 9 times out of 10, if not all the time 10, they're going to reflect what you value in life, you know?
So true. So true. So once you take a step back and you're examining, like, why did this make me feel this kind of way? And so you discovered that, you know, it was because let's say you value friendship or you value loyalty, and you feel like that person wasn't loyal to you. And then you have this disappointment that you're walking around with. How do you move forward from that space?
Well, there are a couple of ways you can move forward. Some people are just like, you know, forget the situation and like to just kind of throw it like it happened. That person's dead to me. I have people like that will like cut them off forever, never speak to them again. And then there are people who just have to say something. They feel offended, but they value the friendship and they really don't know if it was intentional or not. So they want to respond. But this is what I would say to people, right? So there are 3 types of people. There are very emotional people. Then there are very intellectual people. But then there are people who are right in the middle, right? There are people who have the perfect combination of intellect and emotion, and they don't move they don't make temporary actions based off of, you know, they don't make permanent decisions based off of temporary situations. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really find too many wise-minded people who are right in the middle, like the beautiful blend of emotion and intellect. Most times I find we are usually on either side of that. So, for example, if you know you're an emotional person and you get very emotional, I would tell you that, you know, once you have identified that you're upset, is to take at least 24 hours before you respond to this disappointment, you know, and really think about it, you know. And that's me pushing my mind to the more intellectual side, so I can really take a step back and look at the whole situation in its entirety. So I know I'm emotionally, I cannot speak from emotions, so I shut my mouth when I'm upset. And a lot of times people misspeak, you know, or if you know you're a very intellectual person and you don't take emotions into consideration, then you need to take a 24-hour timeout too, and you need to take into consideration the emotional piece of this. So I tell people to, at least once you identify that you're upset and you know the why, what was behind it, take a step back and then examine the situation and think about it. Take some time and let that simmer for a minute, because you will make the best statements, the best actions once you have thought about the situation from different perspectives. Because most time we come from the perspective of which our value system was, you know, disrespected. So that's what I would tell them.
So that's a great suggestion. I definitely think that, for me, I know I definitely try to take some time, and then I try to get advice from people that I trust.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
Because, I don't know where I am on the spectrum. I try to be in the middle, but I think I could probably lean more to the intellectual.
That's me. That's
So,
me.
so sometimes I need that pulse check. Like, wait a minute,
Yes.
are you considering all sides? But now, what if okay, so say that this disappointment happened, right? And you didn't take the 24 hours, and maybe this thing happened years ago, and you're walking around just still being, that disappointment has now turned into bitterness. That's what I'll call it. Has now turned into bitterness because you haven't communicated it, you haven't talked about it, and you haven't gotten over it. How do you move forward from that space?
Unpack that bag. You have to unpack that bag, because a lot of times, and so let me just go here with this. Sometimes we think that we have to go to the person who committed the offense when we are disappointed with people. Sometimes sitting with somebody and hashing it out and talking it out and coming to a place of peace with your decision to, okay, this is how it impacted my life. This is what I think about it now, and this is how I'm going to move forward. Usually people find peace and closure when they have a plan for moving forward, because naturally speaking, we are always moving forward. So to go backwards is like kind of like going behind. It defies our purpose. So when we have plans to move forward, we naturally, it's like an internal healing process takes place. And this is the thing. Just because somebody disappointed us and offended us doesn't necessarily mean we're never going to forget it. Just because we decide not to, deal with this person the same way anymore, or have them part of our lives, or, they showed us our true colors. So we're like, okay, this is the area that they belong in. And I'm okay with that. Once that decision is made, then we can move forward, make plans of how am I going to move forward from this. And a lot of times people get stuck with the how I feel right now, not the how am I going to move forward with this? How am I going to let this impact the way I interact with all people? Am I going to now not making no new friends? Oh, I don't need no new friends. I hear this all the time. But how are we going to move forward with the information now that we have unpacked that bag, dealt with the disappointment, identify which values that they caused conflict with, and then how do we move forward from that? And I think that that's the most important piece. How do we move forward? Disappointments can keep you stuck if you allow them to. But when you make the choice, again, when we make the choice, which is an intellectual move, sometimes your heart don't catch up right away. So sometimes you got to make that choice and be like, I'm moving forward regardless of what my emotions do, because I have unpacked that bag. I've identified how it made me feel, but now I'm making a choice to move forward. So it's that making that choice to move forward so that we don't stay stuck, because it's very easy to let disappointment keep you stuck if you stay in your feelings.
So true. So true. That was very good. Yeah. So true. We have to make a choice to move forward, to progress out of that, to not want to sit in it.
Tisha, choice is so powerful. Like, it makes me, if people really realize how much choice can bring freedom. There's so much freedom in making a choice. I can choose to let my disappointments keep me stuck right here. But I can also make the choice that I'm not letting those disappointments keep me right here. I make the choice on a daily basis. I'm not going to stay stuck. Yes, you offended me, and I identified what you did, and I identified now your place in my life. Now I can make the choice to keep you a part of my life, but make sure that I make you understand what you did so it don't happen again. Or I can make a choice that you're not going to add value going forward, so you got to stay right there. No love lost. We're cool, but I had to see that whole display, because for where I'm going, I had to see that now. So when I identify the power in choice, so many people will be free. It's a choice. A choice is so powerful. Oh, I could talk about choice forever, but choice is so powerful.
Would you consider that the same thing when there are life challenges that happen, maybe things that were not expected, and you find yourself sitting in disappointment because that didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out, or that situation or dynamic didn't turn out the way that you wanted it, or you didn't get that job, or you got denied that promotion, or whatever it may be? Would you say it's the same thing? It's about making a choice as to how you're going to move forward?
Yeah, listen, if you want to retitle this talk to
The choice.
making choice post disappointment, you could do that, because choice is what's going to bring people to the other side. Identification of what happened. Again, don't just throw away the process of what you have to process that stuff. And when I say unpack and process, I mean you got to talk it out. So I like what you said about how you reached out to a friend and you said, you know what, you talk to somebody you trust. That is one of the best techniques you could probably go to. A lot of times people pick people like me, therapists, because they want an unbiased choice. They don't want somebody who's so closely knit to their family, so they can have somebody who is on the outside looking in and could give them an unbiased perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But really leaning in and unpacking and being honest with yourself and transparent and unpacking those emotions and those feelings, and not just throwing them to the side saying, oh, well, I'm just going to be angry. There's no benefit to you when you're angry. You just keep yourself in an invisible prison, right? So what you do is when you decide to talk about it, and then you have a choice to make. We have choices to make. You know, it's sad because a choice can keep somebody stuck and non-fructitious for the rest of their life. They will profit nothing. You know, I was in a position where I had to make a very, very difficult choice. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I was sitting on my couch and I had somebody I trusted, and they came to me and they said, listen, you got 24 hours to be upset. And then I need you to get it together. At the time, I didn't want to hear it, but that pressure. In other words, he was saying, listen, I know this hurts and you need to take time to just think about how it made you feel. But then after that, you got a choice to make. And I think that if it wasn't for that choice, if it wasn't for that bad circumstance that had happened to me, there were so many blessings or so many things I wouldn't have even had access to. And I think I'm so thankful for choice. You know, so absolutely, when devastating disappointments, whether it's business, whether it's family, whether it's past situations, whatever it is, when you're disappointed and you feel you're stuck, you have the power to make a choice to change the complete trajectory of your entire life. It will literally change the trajectory of your life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I definitely agree. I was just saying this, talking to my husband about this the other day. Your mistakes or your situations or your experiences, especially the negative ones, they don't have to define your destiny and what it looks like. You can choose to change the trajectory of your life. It was the exact same words that I used. It's a choice to stay disappointed. What'd you say?
No, you're absolutely right. It's a choice to stay disappointed. And listen, there are people I have met who decide to stay disappointed. There's a technique that I use in therapy that I help people who just can't. They get stuck with making a choice, right? So, like, what happens when you're so in your feelings that you get stuck making a choice? So, this is how I tell them. You know, there's this term we use called radical acceptance. And so if you think of radical acceptance, it's your ability to just take whatever is in front of you and just embrace it. Just embrace it, as painful as it may be, as difficult as it may be. You just make the decision. I'm going to embrace this no matter what. Now, people don't understand this, but suffering is a choice. We don't have to suffer. We choose to suffer. So when I decide to question and continue to question my circumstance and the disappointment, and why did this happen? Who could have done this differently? Well, when did this happen? When I start to continue to question the circumstance, I keep myself in a place of suffering.
You keep it living, right? You keep the scenario
You
living.
keep the scenario living. Like, why did this happen to me? Why am I here? Why couldn't it happen to them? Oh, well, when is my breakthrough gonna come? Oh, well, like, who, we could ask the who, when, what, shoulda, who, coulda, how, whatever the questions are. We can ask all those questions, but all you're doing is you're choosing to suffer longer. Yeah, you're making a choice. You're making a choice to suffer. Radical acceptance means that, no, I know this is painful. I know this is a disappointment, but even still, I'm going to embrace it because I'm going to grow through this. I'm not going to just go through it. I'm going to grow through it. And I know that I can't bear the suffering anymore. I can't bear it. It is what it is. It's like kind of saying it is what it is. So now that it's here, I have to make a decision. And now this is the thing. People don't know this, but they will not be able to move past that disappointment until they decide to embrace the difficulty, to embrace the situation that's happening. Once I embrace it, then I can look at what's on my plate, and then I can say, okay, now what I'm going to do with it. But you can't do nothing until you decide to embrace it. And embracing is not easy. I don't care if you're crying yourself to sleep, embracing that situation. You might be, hopefully not in a depressed state, but people embrace it and they move with the moods. And like, these are the people who go with the flow. They're like, this is what I'm going through and I can't do nothing about it. So now what I'm going to do about it? Mm-hmm. Years ago, I remember years ago when I thought I would have this awesome job, and they called me after I had quit my job and told me, hey, listen, we shutting down this plant and you don't have a job. I was like, excuse me, I got 4 kids. They don't care I have 4 kids. They didn't care. But I had to say, okay, now I couldn't even think about, okay, now I got to make plans for the future, what I'm going to do, because I was so stuck in the moment. I'm like, wait, why? Now I'm asking questions. Why did this happen? Like, who shut down this plant? Like, well, when were they going to tell me? I'm asking all these questions, which keeps me stuck. But the minute I was like, you know what? That means I got to do my business full time. Once I embraced that pain, I was able to move forward and make a plan. You cannot make a plan and you cannot move forward until you embrace and radically accept what's happening to you. And the reason why it's radical is because it's painful. And it takes a crazy person to embrace pain. Mm-hmm. But guess what? Those crazy people are the billionaires, the millionaires, the people walking around,
they are.
living their best life. And these are the people who are like, you know what? Who have people walking up to them saying, you don't look like what you've been through. Those are the people who radically accept their pain. It was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I told my husband the other day, I said, I don't care if this business shut down. I'll open 4 more businesses. It doesn't matter, because you get to a place where you're like, you know what? Life. Everybody, I don't care who it is. Everybody has disappointment in life. But it's the people who chooses to radically accept it, who are able to get out of that stuck place and move forward. You know what I mean?
Right. You don't have to, like, life is going to present challenges. You don't have to let life ride you. You can ride it, and I think, like, when you were talking about radical acceptance, it's really you taking control. Like, yeah. I'm clear now on how I feel about it. I'm clear now on why I felt the way I felt about it, where that came from in me. I'm clear on your behavior and where I want to place you, or how I want to do this, or what's not going to happen. And now I need to be clear on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to move forward. So to me, it's like taking control of your destiny, of your life, of how you're moving.
Yes.
Your space. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, girl. Listen, don't get me preaching up here.
So listen. So what if? Okay, so say I know this, right? Mm-hmm. But maybe I have a friend and they don't necessarily know this, and they are sitting in it. They're sitting in it. What do I do as a friend to help them not stay in that space?
Mm-hmm. So as a friend, you got to know. So I'm assuming you know the person. So you know what's inside the person. So, like, for example, my best friend, she'll be like, Jessica, she'll call me by my whole government name. Jessica Elaine Bullock. You're better than this. Like, she could talk to me like that. So it depends on what the relationship is. Mm-hmm. So you know who it is, who's coming to you. But if I'm just a friend and I see my friend down, I'll be like, listen, I know that there's first of all, words of encouragement. So like, I know that there is so much you're going through right now, but whatever you need me to do to help you get past this stage, let me know, because I know that this is only temporary for you. And so one, it's just giving words of encouragement. Two, just being presently supportive. So like the words of encouragement is one way, but just saying, hey, how are you doing today? Just letting you know I'm here, sending texts, and just letting them know suffering is a choice. And I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to choose, your future, because this is a choice. You don't have to stay in this. So this is temporary, and just reminding them it's temporary, because a lot of times I feel like we get so down over temporary situations. And something I asked one of my friends the other day, I said, I said to them, it's crazy because this is not going to even matter to you a year from now. Mm-hmm. And she looked at me and she said, you know what? She said, you're absolutely right. This is not going to even matter a year from now. And mm-hmm. that helped her to start mobilizing, to move forward. But sometimes when we know our friends, just being a good support like network for them, just like a source of support and words of affirmation and encouragement, and building them up, even when sometimes our friends are too weak to build themselves up. Sometimes that's why we have to be able to build them up and give them some words saying, oh, you are going to do this, and this is who you are, and just affirming them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Definitely. I know that when I find myself trying to go into like a disappointed space, or just like a woe is me space, what you were saying, my thing is always this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And I know people say like when you've lived long enough, you get that. And I think not just when you've lived long enough, but when you've been through enough stuff. I mean, done been through the poor credit, done been through the foreclosure, done been through the failed marriage, done been through a whole bunch of stuff, no money in the bank account. Like, so once you start going through stuff, like you said, and you realize a year from now, this is not even going to be a big deal. A month from now, I can choose for it not to be a big deal right now.
Right.
And so that is what helps me tremendously. Like when I find myself rolling in, it don't last long, but
it don't last long.
But it happened.
Huffington Post released an article. I think it was Huffington Post, the top 6 time wasters. And they said worrying was in the top 3, because the things that people usually worry about, it usually works itself out. Mm-hmm. So I try to talk to myself. I even encourage myself sometimes. I'm like, you know what? Why do I feel like this? I have no reason to feel like this. Why am I feeling like this? And I'm like, you know what? I just got to brush it off. And so I try to lift my mood or switch up the mood, because sometimes, you don't have to actually have something to be upset about or depressed about to go into a mood. So sometimes you might feel disappointed, but not know why. Just disappointed. Like these waves of disappointment come on people who are highly successful, people who are not successful, people who are living their everyday life. Like if you're a human being, you're going to have times where just waves of disappointment following you. You're like, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? Like I can't do nothing. Like I can't get it together. But reminding yourself this is temporary. And I know this is just a struggle I'm having this moment. And so I talk to people like that. Like you said, this too shall pass. It's temporary. Disappointment is so temporary. Maybe that should be the topic of this talk.
Temporary and power and choice.
And disappointment is so temporary. And this is why suicide saddens me, because usually the stuff that people are grappling with are things that they can work through, but their spirit is tired. But if they were to have the right, and I don't want to get into that as a whole nother conversation, but it's just temporary. Disappointment is so temporary. But you could get through disappointment also by remembering why. Just remembering your why, especially for entrepreneurs. So I don't know if there's any entrepreneurs on the line listening today, but if you're an entrepreneur, one way to get through disappointment is remembering your why. Because there are going to be many, 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 many days if you're trying to build anything where you're disappointed. Mm-hmm. You're going to be like, something didn't work out the right way. Just the bank account didn't look the way it's supposed to look, the way, people didn't connect with you the way you thought they should. There's going to be all kinds of disappointments. That building that you went for got sold, or somebody gave you a rented space that was infested. Like, you know, there's all kinds of, I should write a book.
An infected space.
Listen, infected spaces, buildings, it's crazy, you know, but when you remember your why, you'd be like, all right, well, that was a setback. It's just going to make my story more interesting. So, okay, you know, and you got to keep it going, because my why, I got 4 of them, you know, Kevin, Alexis, Alana, and Ava. And every time I see them, I'm like, my 4 whys to keep me going. I'm like, I have to succeed, you know. There are goals. You remember your goals. You remember your why. Why am I pushing so hard? Why am I grinding? Why am I hustling? And sometimes it's helpful to I keep like 1,000 of these little books everywhere.
Me too. I thought I was the only one. I'm like,
oh girl, I got like 3 right here.
Everywhere.
I got these little books everywhere. And I jot notes. I put 1 page, I wrote I'm a millionaire like 20 times. Like, I just do stuff like that to like encourage myself,
to build yourself up.
It's very disappointing. Being in business can be disappointing. Trying to build relationships with people in different arenas can be disappointing, because they don't turn out to be the people you thought they would be.
Oh, you know? That's another episode.
Yes, personal relationships can be disappointing. Your spouse can disappoint you. Your children can be disappointing. But you gotta like pick yourself up and be like, all right, this is temporary. And listen, take a time out. Sometimes we have to take a time out and just get some me time to recollect ourselves. You know, I do that a lot.
Definitely. I think that as a newly full-time entrepreneur, I definitely have had waves of ups and downs. And it's so funny. What I tell myself all the time is that sometimes it's like, okay, God, I want this. And then I get this. And then it's like, okay, after like a month later, okay, now I want this.
Yes,
and now we're never satisfied. So the waves can come and go as far as feeling disappointed or feeling not as successful or not doing what it is that you were created or called to do. And the why thing, I think, is so important because it helps me stay focused. And it brings me back to my focus. And so when I'm focused on my why, these other things are like, my why is up here and these other things are just at the bottom. They're just like surfacing. And so that's how I try to pull myself out of the ups and downs of life.
Yes.
The challenges. So lastly, I guess you did, I really wanted to talk about how to move past disappointing yourself, and you covered that just now. So that's good.
Listen,
I think that's an internal challenge, and that might be the hardest one.
I wrote down here, try your best to improve your recovery time. Okay, I'm going to say this without crying. Listen, life can be disappointing. You know, it can be very disappointing. And you have to wow yourself with your recovery time. My recovery time, I remember when I was a brand new entrepreneur and I was just getting into this, and I didn't know people were so mean. I was like, why are people just mean? I'm a nice person. And I almost feel like my heart broke several times because I'm not in a corporate business. I'm in the business of helping people mend their own hearts and build relationships and just kind of restore things that have been broken in their lives. That's what I do. And for this, just for business, the business side of this, I wasn't ready for. I mean, I'm a lot tougher now. Things don't wave. I don't, not waver like I used to be. I'm like, all right, whatever, let's move forward. My recovery time is quicker, much quicker. I used to like get anxiety, like fall asleep with like feeling like my chest was going to cave in. It felt like somebody was hugging me tight. And I never knew what it was. As a therapist, I'm like, the therapist isn't sick, And I came to find out, I'm like, all right, I have to do better. What can I do? I can't be like not sleeping. I can't miss so much of my self-care to the point where I'm having like panic attacks and going to the hospital, not understanding, thinking it's a heart attack maybe. And in my late 20s, early 30s, not knowing what was happening to me. Work on your recovery time. My recovery time now is less than a day. So when somebody disappoints you or you have a situation in your life that's really disappointing, try to figure out what are the things that's going to help you move along the process. Is it talking and reaching out to a friend? Is it calling you? I got people who request emergency therapy sessions with me. They're like, Jessica, I'm trying to improve my recovery time. So I want to talk through this. I want to unpack this bag. And I'm like, let's do it, if I'm available. But the time frame for your recovery time, I would challenge everybody right now. If you are disappointed, look at how much time it takes you to grow through it and to work out, process the feelings, and then come up with a plan of action for the future to move forward. Well, how long does that take? I'll be honest with you, I have my own baggage out there. It took me about 2 weeks. I let be in my feelings for like 2 weeks, not answering phone calls, like being in my own little world. I can't do that right now. I got too much going on. So I had to work on improving my recovery time. So now I could give me like a good 24 to 48 hours, sometimes one day, less than a day. But it used to be really bad for me. So if you want to try to work through your disappointment, you want markers for outcomes. How can you tell you're improving? This is a good quantitative way for you to be able to measure if you are improving regarding your growing through the disappointments and really getting through them and learning who you are. So get a little book, document what bothers you. So like, for example, I'll put the date at the top, and then I'll put, this really bothered me today, so-and-so, or this situation has me feeling this way. And then draw a line and leave a space for an answer. And the reason why you're going to do that is because you're going to go back when that has been resolved. And you're going to date it and say, I'm not feeling the same way about this. And that's if somebody wants to really do some self-discovery work and really work through improving their recovery time. I did it for a while. Now I know my recovery time is quick, so I don't do that as much as often. But for people who really want to do that, that's one. Two, another good homework assignment for people are to know your values. So you could go to Google and there's like a list of 100, 200, so many values. Pick like your top 10 and then rank them. And let me tell you something, 9 times out of 10, the thing that's disappointing you in your life, it's button heads with one of those top 10 values. I guarantee it. Mm-hmm. So that way you're like, oh, I see what it is. So now what's happening, I used to be the emotional responder. I push my brain more to the intellectual side so that I'm not responding like, no, she ain't dead. I'm not going there no more. I'm just like, you know what? I need a moment. I won't even respond to text to the next day if I feel a certain type of way, because I know I'm emotional, so I need time to think about it, process it, and then I respond in a way that's going to not have me saying stuff in a temporary moment. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So know your values and keep a little journal, even if it's on your phone. And when something bothers you, just jot it down. Your phone keeps record of dates. Jot it down, and then leave a little space for you to answer. This is all about self-improvement and self-awareness. We are not in control of what we are not aware of.
Right. Knowing thyself.
Knowing thyself. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. This is so good. This is so good.
I love it.
Oh, I thank you. I thank you for joining us this evening and covering this topic and talking about these things. And guys, I encourage you to take Jessica's call of action to challenge yourself to look at your recovery time. You know, when you are going through something that has been disappointing to you, let me see if I got it right. First, you want to identify your values, right? Identify what that trigger is for you or what you're offended by or disappointed in. And then you want to help me out, Jessica.
And then you want to, and this goes another time, but so you identify what you're feeling. So like identify what you're feeling, because you're going to know your values, but you're going to identify what you're feeling, and then you'll know if it's conflicting with your values. And then you're going to take a step back and wait to see how it's going to come, like, work itself out, but don't do it right away.
Right.
Give yourself some time.
Yeah. And then just remember.
No, I said disappointment will have you responding in ways that's not even natural for you.
Mm-hmm. Disappointment will have you responding in ways that you then have to turn around and clean up even more.
Who wants to do that?
Then that's probably why people end up just not doing anything, because you've responded and it's just gotten so big and so hefty. But I hope that everybody, you know, remembers some key things. I think that this conversation was great, a great tool and a great resource to help people get started in progressing forward, having an action plan for moving forward, and remembering that there is power in your choice, and that these situations are temporary. Disappointment is temporary. And this too shall pass. So, Jessica, is there anything that you want to leave us with before we end this video? And also, please let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and your counseling services.
Sure. Well, you know, the easiest probably way will probably be everybody's on Instagram. So I'm at Jessica E. Bullock on Instagram, and or you can go to jessicabullock.org and just shoot me a message. Those are probably the two fastest ways to get in contact with me.
Okay. And you are, her counseling center is Life Options Counseling Center?
Life Options. My daughter just came into the room.
Yes.
Life Options Counseling Services. So that's www.locsnj.org.
Well, guys, thank you, Jessica, for giving us your wisdom and sharing with us your experience. And I just hope that this has been our hope for this, and the reason why Jessica's volunteered her time and I've made a platform available for us to have this conversation is because we really want people to be the best versions of themselves. And a part of that is knowing how to overcome these areas of life that would try to hinder you or keep you in a place from not evolving. And we want to see growth. We want to see people succeed.
Absolutely.
So guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, when passion meets purpose, great things happen.
Yes.